Hi everyone, welcome back to Joe's Stunner Boxing. As I said at the end of my previous video, the next day, which will be the 7th of October, will be the third birthday of this channel. So I want to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed. And if you're new to the channel and you watch this video and you like it, please subscribe and hit the like button as well, if you don't mind, if you like the video. All right, let's talk about Anthony Yarde. Because Anthony Yarde has had the most curious career that I can think of, certainly amongst active fighters. He is now 33 years old. He had very little amateur experience. He turned pro in 2015, so that's 9 years ago. Yeah, you're getting close to a decade, aren't you? Because I think it's more than 9 years and a few months. And he's had 2 world title shots, despite never having beaten a world-class opponent. He got knocked out in both. Sergei Kovalev did him in 2019. That was in the 11th round. And that was Kovalev's last world title victory. Shortly afterwards, he got knocked out by Canelo Alvarez about 3 months later. He did have a split decision loss to Lyndon Arthur, which he avenged with a 4th round KO. And then he somehow got a second world title shot. This one was against Artur Beterbiev. Got stopped in 8 rounds. Gave Beterbiev plenty to think about. But if ever there was an example of someone being sort of well manoeuvred and navigated through the choppy waters into a position of being able to fight for twice for world titles, it's Anthony Yarde. I'm not quite sure how he got either title fight. I mean, I do know. I mean, he won some of those WBO trinkets, didn't he? Those international titles or whatever, and that gets you a ranking. But again, if ever there was an example of a fighter who clearly has talent and power and athleticism, but whose career has been sort of bubbling under with C+ level fighters, maybe B-, and then suddenly you're jumping up to the grade A people. Is it really preparation to take on the best by knocking out also-rans? Obviously not. That's a rhetorical question, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. But anyway, bringing us up to the modern day, Yarde had a dispute with Queensberry, with Frank Warren. And Frank Warren, let's be honest, has done Yarde good. I mean, with getting him 2 title shots, And he also had a fight for Yarde against Joshua Buatsi, which was on one of the Riyadh cards, which would have been a very big payday, I would imagine. I don't have any insight. I haven't read the contracts, but I imagine if you're on a Riyadh card, you get very well compensated, as fighters should be. But he turned it down. And in fact, he said, actually, I'm out of contract. And Warren said, no, you're not. And there was to-in and fro-in, a few writs being perhaps fluttering in Yarde's direction. But in actual fact, I don't know whether that's been fully resolved, but Yarde is actually, it was announced that Yarde is going to be on a BOXXER show, and he hasn't even got an opponent yet. And this BOXXER show will be over at the Copper Box on October the 19th. So it's not 100 years away, is it? So he's on this show. He's not the headliner. The headliner is Michael McKinson against Tulani and Benge. That's for the IBO World Welterweight title, which is vacant, as often the IBO titles are. And Yarde is, Adam Azim is on there against Ahara Davis. That's a curious fight. That's an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to that. You've also got Jamie, what's he called? Jamie TKV, is that his name? The heavyweight. And he's fighting an undefeated fighter who I've never heard of him. I don't remember ever seeing him. A guy called Ignatius, I think is his surname. I don't think I've seen him. You've also got Fran Hennessy on the card, who is a very good young teenage female fighter. She's actually Mick Hennessy's daughter, and she does have some talent. This is a talented kid. And also, believe it or not, you've got Shannon Courtenay, who's coming back against both Fran Hennessy and Shannon Courtenay are fighting, TBA to be announced. The good old reliable journeyman that is TBA, along with Anthony Yarde. So TBA's got a heavy diary on October the 19th. So Yarde has basically gone from having an opportunity to fight on a Riyadh card against Buatsi And in fact, Willie Hutchinson jumped in and went the distance with Buatsi. He got floored a couple of times from body punches, but actually his stock increased because he did show a lot of guts in that fight. And he got a good payday. And Yarde declined that fight in favour of, well, as we now see, fighting at the Copper Box on the undercard of Michael McKinson and Talani Mbenge, sharing a card with, Shannon Courtenay. Well, this doesn't really indicate that things are going well currently for Anthony Yarde. Now, there is a little caveat to this that has to be mentioned, and that is that it is possible that when Yarde was offered the fight with Buatsi, it was on the condition that there was an extension to his contract. And the extensions may not have been what Yarde and Tunde Ajayi, who's his manager and trainer and close confidant, someone who he definitely listens to, those extensions on that contract may have been considered unfair. Okay, I get that. Again, I don't have insight into their contracts, but at the same time, you have to wonder, at 33, isn't Yarde better sticking with the guy who got him 2 world title shots? Maybe gets him on the, I mean, let's say he'd beaten Buatsi. Certainly, as he would have moved up the ladder in terms of, this on this occasion, deservedly moved up the ladder in terms of world rankings, and put himself, one would think, in the way of picking up some extra Riyadh paychecks. Instead, he's fighting at the Copper Box. Look, on the surface of it, it doesn't look good to me. And I'm mystified by his career, how it's been brought along. I just don't really get it. I just don't really get what they were trying to do. And I'm assuming he got well paid for going to Russia to fight Kovalev, and then for the Beterbiev thing. I think he was mandatory for Beterbiev. So he's probably made a bit of money. But this development, be interesting to see what he looks like. He'll probably be in against a total pudding or journeyman or something, just someone to pad the record. It won't be anyone who's world class. And when you're sharing, TBA services with Fran Hennessy and Shannon Courtenay, it does beg the question, has your career gone in the way that you wanted it to? Has it gone in the way that means you've maximised your talents? Because Yarde does have talent. He has a lot of talent. And another thing is, he's fighting a TBA opponent, It's not like he's been out of the ring for 2 years. He fought in February against Marko Nikolovic, was the guy's name. And he stopped him in 3 rounds, and then he had a 2-round knockout of a guy called Jorge Silva. That was in 2 rounds. That was back into last year, probably about a year ago. So he's not been... He hasn't been that inactive. So you would think they'd at least put him in with a half-decent opponent, someone who's maybe a top 20, top 15 maybe opponent. But no, he's in there with to be announced. It's just been a strange career for Anthony Yarde. Very, very odd. And I don't pretend to understand it. Do you know what? I think if you spoke to Yarde and Tunde, they'd probably not understand it either. It's a weird career he's had. Anyway, leave your comments below if you don't mind. I want to hear your opinion on Anthony Yarde, where he's at, what his career's been. What's your opinion on his career? I mean, just let me know all your opinions, and I'll have a read like I normally do. Like I said, please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button. And thank you very much for subscribing, all you loyal subscribers, all who leave comments. I know I recognise all your little names, and thank you. I always appreciate it. I always appreciate your time. Anyway, Sunday is just about over. Another week ahead. I hope it's a good one for you. And I'll catch up with you later. Bye for now.